Thank you for this amazing months and these amazing lessons that we have. Every weekend, you can in just 1 hour and a half make just make me think towards an entire week and more about those kind of things, and getting out of my house and looking at everybody different, and for everything in my society and in the world that I live in different. That's amazing. Thank you so much. This was probably the best experience of learning that I've ever had in my entire life.
Hi, and welcome to this year's ISAKx info session. You've just heard from one of our students that participated in our course last year, and he was very enthusiastic. And we hope that after this session, you will be able to understand why he was so enthusiastic and get the energy to apply yourself and experience it. So today we're going to run you through what is ISAKx, what are the courses about, and what are our faculty and instructors, where are they from. We'll talk a little bit more about the program details, on how you can apply, and when the courses are happening. And obviously at the end, we'll try to answer some of your questions that you have. So to start off with, let me introduce myself. My name is Iris. I'm originally from the Netherlands. I am currently the short program director for ISAKx Japan. And I've been involved with UWC ISAKx Japan since 2015. Came here for a summer school when I was a college student. And currently I'm directing the summer school, the winter school, and ISAKx. And the ISAKx is really an exciting program for me, or at least it's an exciting project to be working on, because we bring together so many different students from all over the world in an online setting that normally would not be able to meet. And the journey that they go through is very exciting to see. So I'm happy to be explaining to you this year what we're going to be offering. So let's start off. What is ISAKx exactly? So ISAKx was launched in mid-2020 in the midst of the pandemic, when we didn't really know what education was going to look like. Suddenly we were all behind our screens. We weren't able to travel. And specifically for a school like UWC ISAKx Japan, where normally we would get students from all over the world to come to our campus, we were kind of like, wait, how do we get to have these people still interact with each other, even though borders are closed and we can't travel? And so that's when ISAKx was born. It's this idea that we think it's really valuable to learn from peers that have vastly different backgrounds, learn from each other's perspectives, and just think and discuss different issues and see that as an opportunity to really grow and understand the world better. And so that's how ISAKx as a new online platform was designed to facilitate this type of education. If you're here right now, you actually know probably quite well what UWC ISAKx Japan is about. With ISAKx, we actually try to bring our ISAK approach to education to students that can't come to campus. And that might be for different reasons. But what we're focusing on is on critical thinking, cultural diversity, dynamic discussions, and broadening your perspectives, and really trying to enable you to make change in your own life and in the world. And so we started off in 2020, as I said before, and initially we offered 2 courses. Initially it was exploring leadership and society and politics. And so last year in 2021, we expanded with the science track, and we also had 2 courses focused on science. And this year we're expanding even further. We'll be offering 7 different courses, and you can choose whatever course you want over the course of the 2 semesters. So you can pick and choose and pick as many as you like. If you want to follow 1 course, you can do that. If you want to follow 2 or more, you're more than welcome to join us, as long as it obviously fits your time schedule. And so in the fall, we'll be offering perspectives in literature, politics, you and today's world, climate change and biodiversity, and intercultural understanding and empathy. And for the winter semester, which will start in January, we're offering courses called Nature, Language, and Society, Stories and Self-Exploration, Science, Progress, and Society, and again, Politics, You, and Today's World. And I can imagine, at least to me, these now might sound very vague. So let's try to get to know them a little bit better and learn about your instructors and the courses. So let's start with Carrie, our initial ISAKx teacher from 2020 as well. Carrie, could you start and introduce yourself and your course, of course?
Sure. I'm Carrie, and I'm going to be teaching Politics, You, and Today's World. I've been a part of this, been very lucky to be a part of this since the start of it. This year, we're going to change one of the courses into something else, Politics and Society. We wanted to make it a bit broader and to pull some more stuff in. and also to make it connect a bit more to you. And that's the idea. A lot of what we see is that the world out there is really big and there's a lot happening and there isn't a lot that you can do, but there is. So the plan is to look through some stuff, try to simulate some things and see exactly how you can jump in, how you can participate, if you can engage, how you can possibly change some of this stuff. And that's the idea. So yeah, please come by, check it out. And I want to hand it over to Jonathan, who's going to tell you more about his really creative course.
Thanks, Carrie. So my name is Jonathan Osorio. I've taught at ISAK for the last few years, last 4 years. This will be my first year doing ISAKx, though, and I'm really excited. I really love reading and exploring ideas, and this is a course where we're going to get the chance to do a lot of that. So I'm really excited to be able to share that with you all. When I'm not reading, I really enjoy playing basketball, and I enjoy. I've played quite a bit with Carrie as well, so it's been a lot of fun. For the course itself, we're going to be focused on looking at creative writing in the short form literature, and we're going to be using that creative writing as a lens to understand a little bit more about the world around us, but also to understand ourselves a little bit more. This is a course where I've kind of picked and chosen some of my very favorite things, and I'm really excited to share my favorite short form literature pieces. That's short stories, poems, creative essays. And what I'm really excited about is we use those things to study, learn a little bit more about how we can present our ideas. But then this gives you guys the chance to turn around and use those ideas in your own writing. And I'm really excited to see and to hear from you all as you share from your own cultures, your environments, from your geographical regions, wherever you are. This course gives us the chance for me to share with you guys, but then also for you all to share with me both not just your work, but work from where you're at. So it's a really exciting chance for us all to share with each other. So I'm looking forward to it. And with that in mind, I'm going to pass this off to Mandy, who has been great to work with when she was at UWC ISAK as well.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. My name is Dr. Mandy, and I'm an environmental educator. And I'm an environmental educator because I'm very passionate about nature, from little critters like bugs to big critters like giant trees that are thousands of years old. I've been teaching environmental studies, science for about at least 10 years. And as Jonathan said previously at ISAK, where I had the pleasure of working with him and with Carrie and with Simone. So it's been a real pleasure. And nowadays I'm living on an organic farm where I get to live my dream. It's sort of self-reliant, and I'm building an eco house and all of that. So I can tell you more about that another time. But my course is about climate change and biodiversity, and how our climate is impacting, this amazing diversity that we see in the world around us, and, what we can do about it. So in order to know what to do about it, we have to understand it first. So we'll be exploring that. We'll travel back in time, believe it or not, we really will travel back in time and understand the way that the earth was formed and this diversity has emerged around us. And then we'll explore paths to action and really look at what you can do to take action, to make a difference. And that doesn't mean you have to be an activist. It means that the path that you take in life, how can that contribute to improving our world? So from there, I want to pass it over to my new friend, Kevin, who'll tell you about his course.
Thank you. All right, hi everybody, my name is Kevin. Now, I'm actually a teacher and Caribbean Studies author, new to ISAKx. I was actually introduced by my good friend, Carrie. He really told me about the exciting learning environment, the relaxed, cool, exciting learning environment that, students are so able to engage and, reflect with teachers and, share their own experiences. And that is new for me, being in a more structured learning environment myself here in the Caribbean. Now, I'll be teaching or looking at a course called Cultural Understanding and Empathy where we look at your own culture, your own backgrounds, and basically your own experiences will help each other navigate the world, understanding more about the cultures of the world and sharing the similarities and differences that we've highlighted. It's also important for us to actually get to not only know each other on a personal level, but possibly introduce our families and our communities to each other through exciting videos and through literature and music that we've experienced in our own communities, societies, and families, and our family histories. Come on over, enjoy this course. I know you love it, and come share with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for introducing that. I know that if I were a student, I would want to join all of them. They really, really sound interesting. So I would just want to take a moment to show what an ISAKx lesson might actually look like. We have a short clip that shows you a couple of highlights from previous years, and maybe gives you a better sense of what an online classroom experience at ISAKx can look like. So let's have a look.
And our goal is to try to come up with as many ideas as possible of what this thing might be. And we're only going to have 5 minutes to do it. So I want to hear from everyone, anything you can think of, what might this thing be? There's no wrong answer. And if you want to say it out loud, that's fine. Or you can type it in the chat. And we're going to see how many ideas we can come up with in just 5 minutes.
To be a leader, you don't have to be like famous, because like it says schools principal and my mom, but they're all leading the household or they're leading the school, and those kind of like smaller leaders are also required in society.
As long as they have a goal, they have the courage to achieve that goal, even if it takes a lot of work and the journey isn't smooth.
What challenges do we really need to overcome?
First, I really enjoyed your presentation, and I think that little video part in the presentation was a nice touch to it.
You can tell on person in Brazil, or person in Mexico, on person in the United States, on person in Japan, and it can be the difference.
Okay, I'd like to highlight a little bit from that clip. What really struck me about it in particular is the way that the course is taught draws on student creativity. So draws on your sort of input to that, right? So in the beginning, there was a game that they're playing, and it brings out all these wonderful ideas. And I think the thing that I really want to emphasize about an ISAKx course is that there's no way to pre-package this course. It's not something that we could design or completely like formulate before you're there with us. And once you're there with us, we can together create this amazing class experience. The classes are dynamic in nature, and you bring so much to that from your own experiences, from your backgrounds, your communities, your environment, that together creates this wonderful experience. Kerry, do you want to also say anything about these clips?
Thanks, Mandy. One of the things you may have seen in that is sometimes we have larger classes and sometimes we have some smaller classes. And there's a big reason for that. In order to get all of the ideas and as much of the depth of those ideas, sometimes we're going to have larger discussions with the whole class, and that's going to be maybe 15 people. And sometimes we're going to get into much smaller classes, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. So we can get really, really deep into everything that everyone wants to say. And by going back and forth, it's going to help us get more of those creative ideas from Jonathan's class. It's going to help us get more of that connection and empathy from Kevin's class. It's going to help us understand more of that biodiversity that exists that Mandy's going to walk us through. And that's why moving classes, moving the size and the shape of those classes is going to be something that we do, which I think is really fun, and it means that you get a lot more out of it. And I'm pretty happy about how that works. But thanks. So now you have a pretty good idea about everything that we're going to do in the fall semester, but we also want to tell you about the courses we're going to do next semester starting in January. I am going to be doing my course Politics You and Today's World again in January, and it's going to be at a different time. So if that works for you, then please check that out. And that might be something that you're happy with. But right now, I want to ask Simone to tell you a bit about his course, which might be something that you want to jump in. Simone.
Thanks, Carrie. I'm Simone. I am Italian. My connection to UWC started when I was 17, and I took part in the UWC summer short course in Lithuania, which really changed my life for good. And that's probably one of the reasons, or the main reason, why I'm here today. Since then, I've been involved with UWC as a teacher, as a short course facilitator, as a short course organizer, and I've also spent 6 wonderful years at UWC ISAKx Japan as an English teacher and as the head of the English department. In our Stories and Self-Exploration course, we will take some literary prompts from written passages, from slam poetry, from songs, from movie clips, and use them as a springboard to explore and discuss the stories that are presented and connect them to our own perspectives, our own stories, and our own experiences. We are going to do this in an interactive format, using some drama activities, some theater of the oppressed activities and games. We will also co-create the course based on your interests and passions. We will work on developing empathy, creativity, some communication skills, and we will also collaborate to create a supportive and non-judgmental environment where everyone is welcome to contribute.
My name is Ryan. I teach science, technology, engineering, math, scuba diving. I'm from Canada and I've worked at 3 of the UWCs, including ISAK. I really love this program of ISAKx because it allows me to bring this teaching online to a broad, diverse group of students, and we can learn at our pace in a program far beyond what we're going to see in a normal high school.
Great. Thanks so much, Ryan, for introducing yourself. Now that we've heard from all the different instructors, I just have a couple more questions for you, actually. And let's start off with Jonathan. Jonathan, what excites you actually about ISAKx and bringing your course to this online format?
Yeah, thank you. So as I was thinking about this, one of the things that I'm really excited about for this class is the fact that everybody is in a different place. And that gives us the opportunity to hear perspectives from so many different places. Where you're living and where you are can really influence how the course is shaped and the things that we talk about, because you'll be drawing from those personal experiences there. So I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to bringing that to my course.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Kevin, this is going to be your first time teaching at ISAKx. How do you actually plan to make the most out of the online format in your course?
Well, Elis, there's actually no plan, you know. We really plan to have the students lead the way on this one. You know, what are some of the things that they want to learn? What are some of the things that they want to share? You know, what are some of the things that they bring to the table? I really want it to not so much be too structured, because it's all about the students bringing their experiences to us and also asking us to share the things about ourselves that they want us, that they want to know about us. You know, so it's just a relaxed setting, just an easy, cool setting, you know, just for us to learn, understand, while we enjoy learning.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And so Mandy, going on that, what are you hoping that your students are getting out of your course? And how does the diverse environment that we have in the courses aid your course?
Yeah, so I think, you know, we've talked a lot about how there's like a co-creation going on. And so what I hope the students take from the course is where their particular circumstances then link into like a more global sort of model of what's happening. So I would hope that students would bring their specific experiences and then be able to recognize those in others and take away a bigger picture. And really that links into the diversity, right? Because if we don't have people from all over the world, as we have this great opportunity in ISAKx to work with this diversity, through this, we get to hear all these different stories and these different experiences. And really something we wouldn't be able to do if we weren't doing this as an online course. It's very difficult to bring that amount of diversity in place to a lesson or to a course like this. So I think that's what's really, really special about ISAKx. And yeah, what I hope the students will get out of it.
That's great. Thank you so much. And Carrie, so this year you mentioned a bit earlier, but we won't have an actual explicit leadership course. So how does leadership actually show up in your course?
Wow, thanks. We're not going to have a leadership course this year, which is going to be really strange. And it may be really exciting because we get to bring those ideas into our courses in a very different way. Two of the main things that we look at in leadership is leading yourself, like bringing that process to what you do, and leading others, which is something that more people think about, the idea of leadership outside telling people what to do. So we're trying to incorporate a lot of those ideas into what we're doing into my course, which should be pretty fun. And again, that's part of why we're trying to redesign it and restructure it to make it something that you can understand what's happening, and you can understand where you fit in, which is really important. And you can also understand what you could do about it, which I also think is very exciting. So it'll be fun to see. And we're gonna have to create this as we go along. It's the first time we're doing it, so you get to try something really different. And I hope we bring in enough leadership, and I think that you'll probably help me design this course, and you'll probably be a really good leader in that respect. I hope that works.
Yeah, great, thank you. I have a couple more questions for our winter semester instructors, actually. So let me ask you a couple of questions. So Simone, what are you hoping students will bring to the course, and what are you hoping that they're going to take away from it?
So I look forward to seeing the students bring their enthusiasm to the course, their stories, their experiences, the things they want to share. And I really look forward to seeing them engaging with the literary bits and pieces we're going to look at. I look forward to having fun with them and to creating something new. And what I hope they take away from this is, well, some enjoyment of literature and the things we're going to look at, some extra self-confidence perhaps, and a feeling, a belief that, trying your best, making mistakes and learning from them, asking questions is a great thing. And it's always, always welcome and so important.
Great, that sounds really exciting to me. And Ryan, what has surprised you the most when teaching your course?
When I was designing this course, I didn't want it to be too cyberpunk, or even steampunk. So I was really doing my best to balance Eastern and Western thoughts, traditions. And so I introduced a quote from Aristotle, and one of my students from Brazil, she's like, well, if you're going to mention Aristotle, we have to talk about Parmenides. And I was just blown out of the water, just the expertise and the interests and the genuine desire to improve our planet. This came from every one of those students, and I think we all learned. That was really surprising. We really learned a lot.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And I think, we've got to know a lot of information about all the different courses that we have at the moment and all the different instructors that we have. So I hope you have the energy now and the excitement to start applying. So let's dive into a couple of the program details and how you can get involved. So to start off with, as an eligibility, ISAKx courses are aimed at 14 to 16-year-olds. And so if you're 14 or 16-year-old by around August 1st, 2022, then you're the right fit for the program. Student body-wise, we'll have 15 to 20 students per class. So if you can do the math, we offer 8 courses times 20 students. We have spots for 160 students. In the application, you'll be able to give some preferences in which courses you would really want to join and which ones you might not want to join. But if a class is full, it is full though. Our instruction language is English. That doesn't mean it has to be your first language. It doesn't mean you have to be native. It just definitely means you have the willingness to speak English. It's not my first language either. And so you'll definitely grow throughout the courses. As for tuition, it's 175,000 yen per course. And if you're an ISAKx program like alumni and you have done a program with us before, we're actually going to be able to offer you a 5% discount. And if you enroll into 2 or more courses, you can get up to another 5% discount as well. But if you want to get more information on that, definitely check out our website. It's a lot clearer on there. than me just rambling on some numbers here. So at the end of the course, you'll get a certificate of completion, which means that if you attended enough of the classes live and participated in the course, you'll be able to say that you have completed the ISAKx course, and your instructor will also give you a letter of reflection on how they have enjoyed working with you. And so let's go into a little bit of the details there. We'll have a fall semester, which starts on September 25th. It will run till December 11th, so that's 12 Sundays. And our winter semester starts on January 29th, and it will run until April 16th. In here, you can see which courses are offered when. They're all offered during Japan Standard Time. So we have morning class in the Japan Standard Time, which will probably fit quite well for different time zones. And then we also have classes in the afternoon in Japan, which probably fit different time zones again. So have a look at which ones fit for you and which fit in your schedule. If you're not able to attend all classes at some point due to whatever reason, you'll be able to view the recording of the class. So you don't have to attend all 12, but we do expect people to come in live and participate. And as said before, create the course together. So how do you apply? That's probably the most important at this point. So there's 5 steps to that. First step, as said before, check your eligibility. And then step 2, start your application. On the website, you can find the link to that, to our portal, and you can create a profile and just get started. You'll complete your application, which will include a couple of short essay questions and a 2-minute video assignment so that we can really get to know you and kind of meet you online. If you need to apply and want to apply for financial assistance, the same application within the application portal, you can do that as well. If you do want to apply for the FA that we offer, fill that in there. And then obviously step 4, submit your application before the deadline. For the fall semester deadline, that will be August 22nd. And for the winter semester, the deadline is December 26th. And then obviously you'll want to get your results. So we will announce your result. If you have applied without financial assistance, we will announce the results for the fall semester on August 26th. And we'll on September 9th, we'll give you the result if you have applied for financial aid. And so what are we actually looking at for students? I mean, we've already said, like, we're looking for students that are curious, that want to be creative, that want to create new experiences. Students that are willing to understand different perspectives and embrace diversity. So if you're willing to learn from other people, make friends all over the world, even though it's online. Obviously, if you have a passion to share your opinion and engage in group discussion, as you could have seen, you know, ISAKx instructors don't talk much. They let you talk. So you kind of want to be willing to talk. And obviously you have to be comfortable with participating in an online setting. It is online, but it doesn't mean that you can't create connections. We've had a couple of ISAKx students really form close friendships, and they like game together outside of class. They even like visit each other nowadays, now that the borders are open again. So be present online. And obviously this is the last part, willing to converse in English. So just the willingness to try, to learn, to make mistakes. It doesn't have to be perfect, but English is the main language that we're going to be using. All right, so now that we have gone over all that material, we have, you know, learned more about the courses, we've learned a little bit more about the instructors. Let's get to your questions. We've received a couple of questions earlier on, and maybe to just start off with, Mandy, are there actually any grades for the ISAKx courses, and am I being evaluated as a student is what many people wonder.
No grades, yay. So there's no grades. Are you being evaluated? I mean, not in the sense that you would be familiar with. I mean, you're self-evaluating. You're evaluating one another. You're feeding into what we would call formative assessment. In other words, you know, constant feedback as you would have in your everyday life, right? When you're engaged and interested in something. We will write you a letter. I think, as Iris already mentioned, you do get a letter of completion. So, but that's the extent of it. So as much feedback as you want from your peers and from us, but nothing formal. Is that, yeah. Do the others agree? Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And so maybe to add on to that, I think, you know, we're not giving any grades, but Are we actually giving any homework? Are any of the classes giving homework? Do you need to prepare beforehand before your classes? What does that look like? Anybody who wants to answer for their course in particular?
I can speak for my course. We will have reading that will be useful to do, and I'll make sure that you all know about that. Very short. It might be a poem or a short story, which is pretty enjoyable, which would make the class much more beneficial for you. And then I'm also going to be providing extended resources, other things that you can look into if there's something that you really enjoy or that you want to try out a little bit more in your writing. With that in mind, outside of maybe one poem a week or one short story a week or one short essay, there wouldn't really be any homework that's required.
Yeah. Any different for any of the other classes?
Well, I'll definitely encourage my students to create outside of class, put together videos, put together like your poems, your thoughts on paper, just anything that you'd like to share that's reflective of you, your culture, your people, your family, so nothing too strenuous, just things that you enjoy, and that we can enjoy, and appreciate. So, it's just a learning environment that you create. So yeah, it's all about creating. We're all creators and we're all going to enjoy creating.
So prep work before the course, not really. Perhaps well, it's not prep work. It's really thinking about the things you like. That maybe if there's any literature that you like, any poetry that you like, it's good to have it handy and to be thinking about it a little bit. During the course, you will maybe be asked to do a little reading between sessions or to think about something really before the next session. Nothing major. We're gonna do most of the work within the session.
There's no homework for my class, and I don't have any expectations for outside readings or anything like that. I do encourage students to bring in news articles because every single day there's some headline which is astounding. It's amazing, seems like magic. And sometimes those are the best places to start our conversation. So if a student wants to bring something to the class, great. I also use the Google Classroom to share textbooks and other resources that students might want to look up if they're interested, but it's not for the course, it's for them.
Any additions to that, or did we cover it?
I think the two, yeah, covered.
Covered, great, cool. A question that we often get asked is there a perfect ISAKx student, or is there a perfect, do I have to be a certain way to apply to ISAKx? Carrie, I see you wondering.
I think if you want to learn, then this will be a good place for you. You know how school feels every day, every week. I think this is a different place where you get to express yourself, and there's a bit more space for you, a bit more space for your voice, a bit more space for you to just connect with and check in with people. Because there's no number at the end of the course that says you get an A, B, or C. It really is coming from you and how much you want to give and how much you want to connect to it. So I think that's the student. If you want to learn and you think this is interesting and you want to spend some time diving into it, then you're probably the perfect student.
I think the perfect ISAKx candidate is someone who has heard some of this information, who's been in school and asked themselves the question, like, what more is there? What do I do next? A student who's hungry to learn, a student who has that desire to learn from others. I think a perfect student for our ISAKx program is someone who's open-minded and someone who's looking to develop skills and attitudes to lead. And so with Science, Progress, and Society, if you're doing a science degree, if you want things to be better, if you care about society, I think any one of those things, if it lights up your mind, you're a perfect candidate for our program.
Well, a perfect candidate is a candidate that really wants to join. That's the perfect candidate. Someone who says, oh, I like this. I like literature. I want to play some theater games. I want to share about myself and I want to learn about others. That's the perfect candidate.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe to add on to that, I think a lot of students often wonder if I participate in ISAKx, will that help me to get into ISAK, or will that help me to get into UWC? Mandy, can you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, anything that you're like, if you're engaged with things and learning in your life, that helps you get into ISAK, or that helps you get into UWC, right? So whether it's ISAKx or anything else, I think that's supportive. Now, to say that, oh, if you take ISAKx, that's going to be, like you have to do this to try and get in, that's not the case. But these kinds of things and what we're offering here are in keeping with the values of UWC and ISAK. So they're aligned, and I think that helps. It helps to grow you as a person, to even know if that's what you want. So yes, the simple answer is yes, it will help. If it's just a box you're ticking, then it probably wouldn't help, and maybe it's not the right thing in that case. Right. Do other people want to say something about that? It's a little difficult question to answer. Kerry, you're a UWCer.
I think that's fair. All of the schools want people who are interested in something. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect at it. It doesn't mean you have to know everything about it. We're all figuring it out. But if you care about it, if you're interested, then bring that, and that's going to be what's interesting. If you come here, you're probably interested in learning about some of this stuff. So I think it would work.
Yeah, great. So we also have a question about the English level, asking about, like, I can understand English, but I'm a bit shy speaking. How would I be supported in the courses at ISAK? Yeah, how are you thinking of supporting students that where English is not their first language, or English is, maybe not that comfortable speaking up yet? Anybody particular?
I think that I think if you're interested in the stuff, then the energy will make it work. Again, there are going to be a couple of ways that all of us are connecting with you. One is going to be this really big classroom where everyone's there. And sometimes that's going to feel a little bit frightening, a little bit heavy. But in addition to people speaking, we've also got conversations happening in the chat. A lot of us have open documents that people are always editing. So there are lots of ways to get your ideas in, even if you don't feel that comfortable speaking right away, or don't feel that comfortable speaking on that day. And that's going to change as the course goes along, and it's something that you are really interested in, that you really love, comes up, and you'll be able to jump in and lead that discussion. And that's for the big rooms. We're going to have a lot of breakout rooms happening at the same time where we have fewer people. And a lot of the students who start off maybe a bit more shy about speaking up in the bigger group are really comfortable in those smaller groups. And that's where those friendships and that's where those connections come in. And I think somewhere between having multiple places to jump in, whether you want to say it, whether you want to write it, whether you want to put it in a comment, or whether you wait for a smaller group, I think that change, depending on what we're doing and where you are and how busy you are with something else in your world, is gonna just give you different places to jump in, or maybe sometimes you'll sort of wait and see what happens. But I think, again, the interest is what's going to drive a lot of this.
Right.
One of the things I like about the online platform is that students can communicate synchronously with each other at the same time as a presentation or another student is speaking. So they get support in the chat through students who might speak their mother language. We move fairly slowly and we work in fairly small groups. So when we break out and the students are able to talk to another students, I find that even students who are saying that their English isn't a great level, those are wonderful opportunities for them to share and be heard. I'll do a little presentation for each class, and one of the first slides is maybe 12 words, and this is just a word cloud of, hey, some of these words are recognized, some of them you might not. Put these down. If you're interested in the topic that we're discussing today, this is the vocabulary that you'd like to develop, and so start here.
If English not your first language, so it's the same for me. I'm very happy to have you in my course. And so we can do a variety of things. First of all, we'll pay attention to the English levels of each participant. And then there are many ways you can get a script of the things we're going to work on, so you can have a look at them. You'll have time to prep if there's anything that needs preparation. And most of all, most of the things we're going to do don't require fantastic proficiency. They require the enthusiasm and the will to throw yourself into the game, and then we'll all be supportive of everyone's needs.
Yeah, great. And so next up is actually a question for Jonathan. As your course is focusing on creative writing in English, to what extent does that, like, the level of English that I have play a part in your course?
Sure, that's a great question. Thanks. And I was wanting to add on to what Carrie was saying about this as well. For the creative writing that we'll be doing in the class, at no point is anybody ever required or expected to share what they have written specifically. And that's because maybe you're not comfortable. Will you have the opportunity to if you want to? Of course, absolutely, we love that. But in terms of if you feel like, oh, I'm not quite there yet and comfortable with English, we do have the chance to be sharing work from your native language. And you have the opportunity to share these things and to summarize those things. And if you choose to do something like that, you always have the time to prepare that beforehand. Of course, the class is very discussion-based, and so that's going to be a part of that. And a lot of what drives that will be hopefully your response to a prompt. So you're not expected to come up with things on your own. But with that in mind, you will be encouraged to participate in those discussions. And like Carrie said, we'll have the opportunity in big class settings where, again, nobody's required to jump out there. But in those smaller groups that we will break out into, the hope is that you can share a little bit of your response to some of the works that we've been doing. And then if not your own work, then some of the work that perhaps is interesting to you that might relate to that topic.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, so we actually have another question that's a little bit more, I don't know, technical or logistical. Do students need Wi-Fi to participate in a laptop? Is that a requirement in order to participate in the course?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I assume that as you guys are watching this right now, that you have Wi-Fi. By Wi-Fi, generally, right? Like if you have a 4G connection, like I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm not using Wi-Fi right now. I'm using my cell phone. But you do want to be able to connect to people. So yeah, that is essential.
Is a laptop necessary?
It's not.
Right. It's helpful. Tablets can be, but yeah. We've definitely had people doing it on the phone, but it's difficult to like share in everything, right? If we're showing a video, or we often have like different tools that have been developed with like the sort of increase in online learning. I found that some of my students with weaker connections who were using phones had a difficult time accessing that, but they were able to participate in the discussions. So your experience might be more limited, but yeah, tablet, large phone, yeah.
It all works, yeah. And I mean, you make it work as well. We're using Google Classroom, where we will have all the documents in there as well. So if you're not able to connect at all times, you can catch up later as well. And I mean, that kind of falls on to the question of what happens if I miss a class and it's not their fault? Can students catch up?
Yeah, students can catch up. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to try to record all our classes so you can come back to it in case you missed it. We also like get in a bit earlier and sort of hang out a bit later, just in case you want to follow up on stuff that you may have missed or that you want to just see if you can get ready for the following week. Obviously, you have very busy lives and there's a lot going on, and you're doing this on a Sunday or a Saturday evening or a Sunday morning. But a lot of what we also do is just trying to make sure you can always come back to the space. Depending on what happens, we've had students do this on a Sunday at a sports day. We've had students do it on a long car ride, and sometimes they're at home just getting stuff done. So maybe you won't be in the same place every week, but obviously it will help you just to get you ready for this. But if you miss a class, you can definitely catch up. You can watch what we do. The material that we're going to use for class, you will be able to see it. It'll be available for you on the classroom, so you can come back to that anytime you want. and looking back at the videos and then coming back and maybe checking in, asking some questions. And as the classes flow into one another, you'll be able to catch up and people will keep you going pretty well. I think it should be all right.
Yeah. Can I jump in here and just address this as well? We've had students miss classes because of like the situations that they're facing at home. So we have students coming from all over the world, and we've had, students from Afghanistan and Russia in the past year. And so obviously their circumstances mean they can't always join the class. But, that's part of, that of course we're not going to penalize them for that, but it also speaks to the diversity, right? Like students not always being able to join the class is because we have a diversity of experiences, and those are also like feeding into the creation of the lessons. So I think that the not being able to join class every time speaks to something that we value within ISAKx. Yeah.
I have a specific science question for either Mandy or Ryan, but we're wondering, are there any experiments in your science class?
Ryan, I'll just take this just now. But there are simulations, right? So there's various things that one of the experiments that I do is actually gathering data on populations. And so students will go and collect fish and it's all simulated, but then you're working with the data to analyze that data to estimate the size of the population. So there can be experiments within the class itself, but obviously, not to the same extent as I can do in real life, but sure. I think that's also another opportunity that online learning gives us, is a different type of experimentation. Ryan, do you want to add to that?
We'll be testing a little bit of the natural language generators. So you might have heard a little bit of Lambda in the news this past month. We won't be doing chemistry experiments. We won't be manufacturing anything, but we'll try a lot of different computer science, and we'll be looking at biotechnology tools online as well to answer some questions. But yeah, most of our experiments, better to call them simulations.
Yeah, and to maybe follow up on that, what kind of level of science do you actually need to join the science classes?
None. I don't think you need any science to join the science classes. That said, I expect that you would be interested in science. But I think that yeah, the science, we would hope to take you on the journey of becoming a scientific thinker. So we're not really expecting you to have any background at all in science.
I've had students who haven't had any science education before, and they've done absolutely fine. I want students to be curious and to come in and want to ask good questions.
So we actually have a question about applications. And I'm curious if you actually know as the instructors, but can students take 2 courses in the fall and 2 courses in the winter semester? Is that an option?
It's an option. It really depends on how much time you have. Again, as we said before, there's no homework. We want you to probably grab some stuff and do some reading and look at what we're going to do the following week. But it's again, this is going to a lot be managed by your time. If you have the time to do it, then yeah, jump on board. If you just want to do 1 course, that would be fine. But you'll be able to regulate that. And one of the things you'll do as you keep growing is you'll be able to regulate your time. There's space for it, depending on how it lines up with your lifestyle. But also, take care of yourself.
Yeah. I think you all know, you've probably all experienced online learning in the past couple of years. So yourselves, how does it feel to be we're on the screen, right? And our classes are maybe more interactive than the average online course, but nonetheless, you're staring at a screen. So, how has that worked for you? And perhaps use your experience to evaluate how that might work with ISAKx.
Yeah, Great, thank you. Yeah, and I think maybe to follow up on that, or to add to that, I mean, we do offer a discount if you do go to 2 courses, but don't overdo yourself in that sense as well. As Kira said, do take care of yourself. And Kevin, I'm wondering, what are you most excited about for the upcoming semester that you're going to be teaching? What is it that like really sparks you?
All right. For me, it's actually getting to share parts of the Caribbean. You know, I mean, it's not, we don't get that often, you know, where we get to share with people outside of the region in other countries and from other spaces, and just getting, you know, curious people get to understand a little bit more about our music, about our food, and just where it all came from. I mean, some of these students are going to be surprised that, you know, we are so similar, especially where food is concerned, you know, and, you know, it's just getting to share about our rich heritage and background and history, and just seeing the reaction on the students' faces as they, you know, learn more about our region.
That's awesome. Yeah, great. And so is your course specifically about the Caribbean, or are you going to go broader than that?
Actually, much broader than that, you know. As I said before, it's really getting the students to understand more about their own societies and themselves and their purpose, and, you know, how to navigate the world, you know, and how to enjoy the world, you know. I know, you know, with so many things going on in the world, it's kind of difficult to see the light and to see the good things that are, you know, part of us. And I just want us to focus, you know, in the little time we have, on the good things that are, you know, within our societies, our families, our cultures, and just the world in general. You know, it's just a time for us to just focus on the great things in life, you know, and while we mention the, you know, some of the bad things, I mean, because they exist, we will find ways together on how we can navigate those, you know, that territory, you know, that we can't call our dark place, you know, because we can get through this, you know, we can move through this, we can move past this, we can get through this, and again, we can all experience the good, and that's what I really want to bring to my students, you know.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Jonathan, people are wondering, does your course have a specific syllable? Like, do you know exactly what you're going to do for the 12 classes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's important to keep in mind that for that course, I am going to be tailoring it as we go to what students find interesting. I already have, for each week, I have several resources planned out that we can use. And depending on what is most interesting and what is most engaging for students in a certain context, we'll steer the course in that direction. But I have chosen some of my absolute favorite texts that I've ever taught throughout my career. And I've narrowed it down to between 20 and 30 that we will be choosing from. I have between 12 and 15 that I can pull out for any week that's needed, but I do have a pretty strong list of things, and then we'll be supplementing that with things that you all bring from your courses as well. And I'm really looking forward to that. And just so long as, and a lot of that is, it's designed for people who may not have English as a first language. So long as you have a certain conversational English for that, you'll be comfortable discussing all of the things that we'll be covering in the course.
I have a structure in mind, which is a combination. We'll look at a literary prompt, which is not necessarily a written passage, but we're going to start off from that and use it as a starting point for some sharing, for some reflection, for some learning, and also as an opportunity to play some games together that will help us understand better what the characters, the author wants to say, but also what you want to say, and perhaps even more importantly, what we can create together from the sharing we're going to do in smaller groups and in the larger group. So we're really interested in hearing from you, using some pieces of literature as a starting point. So this course, the idea is that we are co-creating the course. So of course I have an idea and I have a plan, but we'll make sure that you can contribute. And some of the best things in an environment like this happen when people bring their passions, the things they like, perhaps the things they've written. Yeah, this is it's not a must, not mandatory, it's an opportunity. But also if you like something very much, you can share it with our group.
Yeah, great, thank you. We got another question on applications. Can students apply through the UWC National Committee? Is that an option?
Yeah, no. So no, that is the simple answer. This is separate from UWC. This is an ISAKx course. Obviously, ISAK is one of the United World Colleges, but this is a pre-UWC program, right? So the age is set to really have you here before you would go to UWC. So simple answer is no. It's not. Don't apply through your national committee. You're applying to ISAKx and follow the steps that are in this presentation.
Yeah, and to add on to that, if you do go to the UWC international website, international page website, you will find us as a short course. So ISAKx is a short course within the UWC environment, but you wouldn't apply through your national committee. You'll apply through our website and the portal that we have there. And maybe to take some questions on financial aid. What are the criteria for financial aid? And we're getting questions asked if we can explain the discounts a bit. I might take this question. So the criteria for financial aid within the ISAK environment is that it's need-based. So it's not merit-based. It's based on your need. And obviously needs are experienced differently all across the world. But we have our own benchmarks that we put that against. And so when you do apply for financial aid, you'll be turning in some of the documents on, the income that your family has, some of the resources that you have. So you have to go in a little bit of detail on your financial situation, but based on that, we will identify if you are need-based according to our criteria. And then you'll be able to, if you then are selected afterwards, we'll be able to offer you financial aid, either full or partial. Both ways go within the ISAKx system. And so just to explain the discounts a little bit further. So if you're an ISAKx program alumni, which means that you have either participated in an ISAKx course last year, or even the year before that, or in one of Carrie's short courses within ISAKx, he did a winter course and a spring course. If you're an alumni from that, you can get 5% to start off with. So even if you do one course, you get 5%. If you're new to ISAKx, or if you want to take two courses, so if you enroll to one and then you're enrolled to the second one, then you get also 5% discount. And then we do have also a 5% early bird payment discount for the winter semester. But details on that are also on the website. So if you add up all the discounts and you're an ISAKx alum, then you can get up to 15%, but probably somewhere between the 5 and 10 is what you'll be able to gather, most likely. Yeah, and so I'm seeing a question coming in for why don't we offer a leadership course anymore? Carrie, maybe you have an answer to that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, the idea was that we're just trying to figure out every year we try to have different courses. We try to make sure that we have more things that people are asking for. This is one of the years where we added a lot of courses, and we just didn't have the right people to do the leadership course. It may come back, it may not, but that's the fun part about coming back next year and just keep continuing your ISAKx journey. It really is just a matter of trying to fit things in at the right time with all the right people. But
yeah,
we liked it. It was a good course. We'll see what happens next year.
Does leadership?
Can I speak to that as well?
Go ahead.
One of the things that we had actually talked about earlier too was how do we take the principles that are in that course and that are taught at ISAK as well in the leadership program and integrate that into what we're teaching in our classrooms. So a lot of those ideas are going to be present in the curriculums that we have constructed. So each course really weaves in those leadership elements as we go through that.
Leadership shows up in my course when a student helps another, when a student admits that they're encountering difficulty, when a student challenges me. One of the things I really loved about last year is I would make bold claims, and by about 3 or 4 weeks into the program, I had students ready to challenge me, to say, what do you mean by this? That's not necessarily true, I think. And that's the key. We need brave voices to step up when they don't agree with authority.
I think that leadership is in the first place, what leadership requires in the first place is that you know yourself. Who are you? Which means also what kind of a leader are you or do you want to be? Leaders can be very different. You can be a loud leader, you can be a quiet leader, for example. And so leadership is about knowing who you are and also finding your own voice. So this course offers opportunities to share who you are. And also, a leader is also a supporter of others. You're not a leader by yourself or only of yourself. You're a leader in a community. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a space together where everyone's voice can be heard. That is leadership. Make sure you have eyes on your friends and they feel welcome too.
And so a question that we got earlier is, how do you get in touch with the teachers? Like, what are the different ways of being in touch with your ISAKx teachers?
Sure.
I can go ahead go ahead, Carrie. All right. We run the courses through Google Classroom. So if you haven't used Google Classroom before, it is so straightforward, like a lot of the Google stuff, right? It's very intuitive. So you can communicate with us through that. And we also have email addresses that you can send us emails directly. So I think, yeah, the communication is fairly straightforward. Carrie, do you want to add something?
That's really it. Every week we are going to give you some information to look at. We're going to give you sort of a collection of stuff. There's usually a pretty long comment feed of just people going back and forth with different ideas. And you can also just send us an email. So it should be fine.
Yeah, and I think Mandy might have mentioned this before, but you are able to contact your instructor through email, and we've had in the past requests for instructors to write certain reflection letters or recommendation letters, and so that is something that it is almost like a team effort, the class in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Are there any questions that you have as instructors that you're like, hey, I want to get that out of the, make that clear, or this is something that I still want to share?
I mean, I feel like the thing I want to share is maybe not so much a Q&A thing, but just that, the camaraderie and joy, and like Kevin sort of mentioned, hopefulness, and that, like the positivity. I feel so inspired every single time I get to be in the class with the students. And for me, I think that's the absolute best thing about ISAKx, is that inspiration. And I think the students are inspired by one another. And yeah, I think that's what's really special. And yeah, finding hope at the moment is so important, right? So I really want to underscore that point.
Yeah. Anything else that we want to? No. Then I have one last question.
Okay.
For returning teachers, actually, what is your best memory from ISAKx classes?
I have my course is going to be sort of designed around 3 different simulations where we try to do something, and it takes a few weeks to get into the simulation, then we'll spend about 2 weeks doing it. And I'm amazed at how quickly you are totally engaged, totally immersed, just dive right into this. And it becomes so real. And even leaving it, it takes about a week or two to sort of put the simulation stuff down so we can do the next thing. And I am always excited to see how people jump in and really take it on. I don't want to say any more because then you won't get to see it. But yeah, simulations are very real, and I love that. I love seeing how it happens.
Yeah, I have a simulation, like I mentioned, about traveling back in time, and we have one student from Palau, and it's a visualization exercise. And so she was, well, everybody had their eyes closed, and they had chosen an area of their homes to walk along. And so sort of like, I'm on my route to school or something, along those lines. And she did the route to her pier where the water is and the boats come in. And I kept telling the story more and more, like, okay, you take another step, you take another step. And she got scared in this visualization because she felt like she was going to fall in the water at the end of that. So yeah, that was a fun lesson.
That's awesome. And for the new teachers, anything you're excited for that you're like, I hope that's going to come out of my class?
I really, at the core of everything that I do as a teacher in English is I want to foster a love of literature, of just reading and engaging with texts. And so if nothing else, the hope is that as we explore the different pieces that we go through, that you find something that you really enjoy or that sparks your interest and that can help you understand yourself a little bit more and love and deepen your love for literature.
And for me, it's just to understand. Understanding is always very important to all of us. Understanding is what, make our societies. It's very important for us to understand, even more than knowing, and yeah, you can understand and get a feel of things without knowing the details and all the processes and all of that. And I feel understanding is very important, and I'd like us to create a platform for understanding, and we all leave each class just understanding a little bit more about ourselves and the world. I guess that's what I'm looking forward to the most, understanding more about the world through you.
That sounds super exciting to me. Thanks so much. And I just want to, last link that I want to make is that the idea that does ISAKx actually help me get into any other programs? Does it help me get into, UWC or ISAK before that as well? We're really looking for students that are eager to learn, that are eager to share, and not necessarily see this as their way in to the high schools. Like, it's really its own program in that sense. We have similar DNA. We share the same philosophy, the same teaching methods, but it's really our way of expressing or sharing that way of teaching with a broader student audience in that sense. You can actually on the website find a really inspiring story of Christina, who I think was in Carrie's class before. She actually did use her ISAKx experience in getting into UWC, and she'll be attending UWC Nordic upcoming semester. So if you want to read how ISAKx can help you get into UWC schools, but help that growth process more than really your application, do check that out on the website. And maybe it's a good segue to the last part that we have. I want to thank everybody for being with us. And for all your input and the instructors. Also, everybody that gave us any questions through email or earlier, thank you so much. I want to finish off with a little testimonial video of our previous students, and really hope to see you upcoming fall or winter online. Do look at the website for the link to the application. Don't forget to apply on time. The deadline is August 22nd for the fall semester, and in December for the winter semester. But do apply early if you want to also get enrolled in the winter semester. So without further ado, I'll slide into the testimonial video and wish you a good day for the rest. Thank you.
What kind of skills that I have to improve to become a leader that the world needs in the next 20 or 30 years?
I knew that leadership is something you can learn to do, but now I had an opportunity to do it myself and to get new knowledge and use it in practice.
Before this program started, I was more nervous to talk about expressing my idea, but now I realize that expressing my own ideas is so important.
You don't have to be the most confident in order to be a good leader.
I learned so many things here, but I think mostly about leadership is that we can do everything, like everything we can do.
Prior to this class, I thought I couldn't speak English very well. So after the class, I think I can speak somehow a level of English. And
I'm really grateful for all of you making like at home atmosphere, like very comfortable for me to hear, and I love this space.